Hey, what's up everyone? I'm out at the range today with the very first shotgun that I ever purchased. It was the Mossberg 500. Back in my early college days, this is where it all started. I was gonna make a video, but as you may be able to see, we're already starting to get sprinkles. I hear thunder off in the distance, so this is a perfect opportunity to head inside and actually show you around my safe room. Some of the guns that have historical context between where I started my career, videos that I've made, and other just great guns that I've reviewed on Target Focus Life. So much to share. Let's go inside. Come on in. Welcome to my safe room. I built this house just a couple years ago, and I built this safe room, and my wife said, does it really need to be that big? And I said, honey, if I continue on the path that I'm on for the next couple years, this will be too small. In a couple years, here we are, a couple years later, the room's too small. One of my biggest regrets. Not build a bigger safe room. Always go bigger. But hey, I'm gonna start you off in this safe room with just a little bit of my shooting journey into exhibition shooting, becoming a professional shooter, and how it all started. Hey, throughout this video, I would love to hear from you. What's one gun that I don't have in my safe room that you think I should have? Then maybe also, what's one gun out of my safe room that you would love to have? As I mentioned, the Mossberg 500 was my very first shotgun. I knew I wanted to hunt birds, I knew I wanted to deer hunt, and I could do both with the Mossberg 500. It came with a rifle barrel, because we're in shotgun zone here in Minnesota, and a bird barrel, smoothbore barrel, and it was very cheap. I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was just like 300 bucks at the time for that combo, maybe even less than that, honestly. Started shooting the Mossberg 500. This is where my passion started to grow, right here with this gun. And then I started getting serious. I thought, you know, I want to take this to the next level. I was already doing some hand-thrown clays, and I wanted a semi-auto. So I went and picked up a Winchester Super X2. The Super X3 was out, but I was a poor college kid, and I couldn't quite afford the Super X3, and they were closing out the Super X2s. It's a 3.5 inch, and I absolutely loved it. I remember the first time that I shot this gun, I was shooting multiples. I think I was shooting 2 or 3 clays. I don't know what it was, but I shot, and then I tried to pull it back and jerk the forearm like a pump gun, because that's what I was used to, and it was just so smooth, so great feeling. I loved shooting this. But as time went on, I realized this 3.5 inch gun wasn't gonna do the trick. As I got really serious about exhibition shooting and wanting to take it to a professional level, I need something a little bit different. So I went out along with my brother and we searched for what we thought would be the best gun for exhibition shooting. Having really no allegiance to any certain brand, we picked up a lot of different shotguns, just felt them out in the store, and really decided that the Winchester SX3 was the gun for us. And this here is my very first Winchester SX3. Did some of my first early shows with it. Had the DuraTouch coating, as you can see if you look close. I mean, it is all tacky. It's kind of nasty looking, but guess what? If you were to grab this gun, it ain't going anywhere. Still shoots, still a great gun. I don't really use it anymore, but this was my very first live exhibition gun. Very first show was actually spring of 2010, and this would have been one of the guns that I used. This turned into an SX3 practice gun. They went away from the DuraTouch on this, which I really liked the DuraTouch, but it just didn't hold up, it didn't last. And then I started shooting a Winchester SX3 Sporting, and one of the top SX3 sporting guns that I actually used was Cerakoted. It was all doctored up and looking great, and it was featured in a video. It was featured in Shotgun Trick Shots on Dude Perfect. Now we're gonna put a link to this video. It's blown up, has a ton of views. And actually the SX3 that was used in that video is out at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West Cody Firearm Museum in Cody, Wyoming. So that's a pretty cool honor to have one of our shotguns featured in the Cody Museum. If you head out that way, make sure you check out that museum. So cool. Then things started to change. Winchester came out with the SX4. Actually, these are SX4s, but let me get back to those in a second. I have one of the earliest SX4s that was manufactured. This is a Winchester SX4. This is one of actually the early, I believe it was a pre-production prototype for testing that Winchester sent us. It's serial number 84, which is super cool because it's in the first 100 SX4s ever made. And 84 was my football number because I wanted to be like Randy Moss. I was a little too short, a little too slow, and not quite strong enough. I didn't have good enough hands, but I was almost there. So that's one of the first SX4s. That's a gun that I really never shoot, but it's one I definitely want to hold on to just because of the cool story behind it. But as we started shooting SX4s, we started working with a company called Deadeye Liquid Graphics, and we started getting our guns Cerakoted and dipped. So like this is a carbon fiber dip with red Cerakote. They do a great job. This gun has been used and abused, traveled all over the country, been in lots of different videos. In fact, if you look and see the blue spray paint right there, that was from, I don't know what the title was, something like Shotgun versus Spray Paint. And I had a blue can of spray paint come flying back at me, get all over me, got on my shoes and my clothes. On my gun, a little history there. This was a gun that I had tricked out by Briley, and they actually milled out the loading port and did a bunch of different stuff on the gun. It worked really well until the action started to crack right there, really hard to see. Ended up with a crack, so this one's out of commission. It would still shoot okay. And then last year I had this one done up by Deadeye. It's the Target Focus Life shotgun. So Target Focus Life is my other YouTube channel where I review primarily shotguns, talk about all things wing shooting, bird dogs, that type of stuff. And that's part of the reason you see so many shotguns here. If you take just a look at this safe room, is these are all shotguns up to here. And there's even a few more straggling over there and a few more even straggling over there. So primarily my safe room is full of shotguns, and that's because I'm reviewing all these guns and putting them out on the Target Focus Life channel. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out. A lot of great content there. I've really enjoyed shooting all these guns, and I can't talk specifically about all these guns. I'm gonna highlight a few of the shotguns that have really stood out to me over the last year and a half of reviewing shotguns. When it comes to pump guns, I'm not huge on pump guns, honestly. I'd rather either go with an over-under, a side-by-side, or a semi-auto. Pumps are one of my last options, but as far as affordable guns that you can get into, pumps are a great option, especially when you're talking this Maverick 88. I mean, super cheap gun. I wasn't thrilled with it. I don't love a lot of things about it, but I tell you what, when I make reviews and put them out, I get a lot of great feedback from people that have the guns and how they've worked for them. And I've had a lot of great feedback on this Maverick 88. And even though it's cheap and looks kind of chintzy, it's run a lot of rounds for a lot of people. Just reviewed the brand new 870. Remington has been making the 870 since the 1950s. They started with the 870 Express. It was a cheap model. Remington went bankrupt in 2020, had to sell off their ammunition side and their firearm side. The firearm side went to Rem Arms, and now Rem Arms is making the 870 Fieldmaster. A little bit different than the 870 Express, which actually, if you come on over here, I have an 870 Express that I bought used last year. Here's an 870 Express. You can see the wood's a little bit different. 870 Fieldmaster. I reviewed that gun recently, so it's fun to not only shoot new guns, but shoot guns that have history or that have evolved over time. Fieldmaster is one of those. Looking at some of the over-unders, one gun that I did not really enjoy shooting was the Stevens 555. It's sort of a cheap version of an over-under, and it kicked like a mule. If I was actually going to recommend someone buy that, now, this is my opinion. A lot of people said they have loved that gun, but if I was going to buy that gun, I would get me a Falcon Strike recoil reduction system pad. I'd put that on the Stevens 555. In fact, I did that on one of my shotguns. This was one of my earlier over-unders. I enjoyed it, except it kicked me in the face and it had a lot of recoil, so I put on a Falcon Strike, and that definitely helped mitigate the felt recoil. One of my favorite over-unders, this Franke Instinct, isn't an incredibly expensive gun, but it sure is pretty. This is the side plate, Instinct side plate, and I just think it is a great looking gun for the money. The Weatherby Orion impressed me. Nothing fancy about it, plain, basic, but man, did it shoot well, and it's priced very reasonably. But probably my favorite over-under that I've shot so far is the Browning Satori 725 Sporting in 28 gauge. The palm swell, the canted trigger, adjustable trigger, so many things to like about this shotgun. Had a ton of fun shooting that. You can check out all these reviews. Almost all of these shotguns that you see in this room have been reviewed on Target Focus Live, so you can check all those out. One of our top videos on Gould Brothers has been Shotgun Trick Shots Model 101 Edition. It still blows me away. It's still one of our top performers. I look back and I shake my head and say, oh, we could do so much better now, but it doesn't matter. It's a great video. It was a lot of fun to film back in the day. Just when we started doing these trick shot editions, this was one of the first ones we made. It's been highly successful. But I tell you what, trick shots with an over-under, here's some of the consequences. This has a cracked stock. Not a lot of trick shots have been done with this, but when you start reefing on the actions and slamming them shut, sooner or later you're gonna crack something or break something. This one's got some loose parts. It's kind of a shame because it's a pretty looking gun. This is the Deluxe 101. Moving on to the semi-autos. I love semi-auto shotguns primarily because I love to shoot fast. I have really enjoyed the A400 Extreme Plus, although I'm not a fan of 3.5 inch. I would love this in a 3 inch, and it is a bit bulky, but man, is this a workhorse of a gun. Been super impressed with that. I love the A5. Before I even pick it up, I just love the look of the A5. There's something nostalgic about it. It's got the similar look to the old A5s, which by the way, hey, I picked up my first A5 last year. I had a cousin that passed away. We bought several of his guns off his estate. This is the A5 that was part of his estate. So I like the current productions, but I tell you what, I'm really liking the older models more and more, and we'll get to some of those. When it comes to semi-autos that are less than $1,000, I was actually super impressed with the Weatherby Element. This gun I did not have high hopes for, sort of blew me away. If you're looking for an inertia gun less than $1,000, that's definitely one worth checking out. One gun that did not blow me away was the Savage Renegade. I just was not impressed with this gun. I feel like they tried oh so hard to make it a $1,600, $1,700 gun. In my opinion, it just comes up short. Anyways, enough about that. I've shot a lot of the Benelli semi-autos. In fact, I'm comparing those and doing another video. If I could only have one Benelli, that'll be on Target Focus Live. Check that out. Semi-autos and sub gauges, haven't shot a lot of them. Some in 20, like the Super Black Eagle 3 just came out in 20 gauge last year. Here's one of the first Super Black Eagle 3s in 20 gauge. One exciting addition to the lineup is that they actually came out with a 3-inch model, which I love, which Aaron loves, especially when we're doing trick shots. We don't need 3.5-inch chambers slowing us down. We want to shoot as fast as possible. We want them to be a little bit more reliable. 3-inch chamber seems to be more reliable with 2 3/4-inch shells. Your target loads, if you haven't seen shotgun trick shots with the Super Black Eagle 3, that was a fun video to make. We made it down in Okeechobee, Florida. Had a ton of fun. Let's see some love for the Super Black Eagle 3 trick shots. The Ethos Cordoba Best. This gun has been dynamite. I shot it super fast when I was speed shooting. It has ported barrels, carbon fiber rib. I was impressed with how fast I could shoot. Generally, I don't shoot inertia guns nearly as fast. They don't cycle as fast. They have a little bit more recoil, so that's generally a little tougher for me. But that gun was dynamite. Still sticking with the Ethos, this is one of the prettiest semi-auto shotguns that I have. This is the Ethos Sport in 28 gauge. Every person I've had in my safe room, I've said, pick this gun up, and they're like, whoa. I mean, immediately, whoa. Super light gun, feels great in the hands. If you're walking the grouse woods, maybe don't go with the sport model. You could go with the sport model, but if you're walking the grouse woods and beating around, I would love to carry this with. Oh, I'd be remiss if I forgot this one. Speaking of semi-autos, this gun doesn't look like anything fancy, right? It's just a 940 Pro, Mossberg 940 Pro. But I tell you, when the 940 Pro came out, I thought, who could I collaborate with to help review this video and make awesome content around the 940? None other than the legendary Jerry Miculek. Now, Aaron and I did a collaboration with Jerry Miculek, speed shooting some pistols a couple years ago. That was a phenomenal video. Learned so much from him. The 940 Pro was no different, or the 940 JM Pro, which is his signature edition of the 940 Pro. Awesome video. And then on top of reviewing this with Jerry, I got to hang out with Lena and Jerry Michalik, where we went head to head in some of our specialties, speed shooting. It was an incredible experience. I'd recommend checking out that video. We'll put the link in the description. I wanted to get my son a gun. He was 9 years old at the time, so I got two guns. I got the Winchester SX4, the tried and true. We know that it's super light recoiling. Therefore, I thought he would love this gun because of the light recoil. But then out of curiosity, I picked up a Franke, which is inertia operated. The SX4 is gas. I picked up a Franke Affinity 3, and my son chose this gun head to head on Target Focus Life. He chose the Franke Affinity 3. He said it was lighter, it was shorter, it's easier to handle. And what's really cool about this gun is that you can grow it with the shooter. You can actually get a full-size stock later on if you want. Now, one thing I did to help mitigate some of that recoil of the inertia is I threw on a Falcon Strike recoil reduction system, and that's actually helped him quite a bit. We made a video about that as well. It's actually fun to make videos with your family. So I've made a few with my son. I love to get my wife out there. Put in the comments, you think my wife Courtney should get involved, be shooting some of these guns with me in the videos? She made one video here on the Gould Brothers channel when we were comparing the Smith & Wesson Shield to the Shield EZ. This is her shotgun right here. That's a Winchester SX4 20 gauge. Nothing fancy about it. Before that, she was shooting the SX3 20 gauge. Oh, first shotgun review that I ever did on Target Focus Life, right here, Winchester SX4 Upland. All right, enough of the semi-autos. Let's move it on down the line. Do have some ARs, not as many as I'd like, but the ARs that I do have are pretty cool, and some of them have some stories, like this 300 Win Mag from APF. This is in an AR style chassis. Shoots this bullet, 300 Win Mag. And one of the shots that I did in one of our Gould Brothers videos was an Annie Oakley shot, right? So I put the gun on my shoulder, used a mirror, and I shot a flying clay out of the air with a 300 Win Mag. You think it would have so much recoil being that big of a bullet? No, actually it wasn't too bad. A lot of fun shooting that. This is another APF AR, designated marksman rifle in 223. One of the cool shots I did with this gun was double trap. So two clays out of two machines at the same time, and I boom, boom. So this pistol is brand new. It's the 4.6x30 offered by CMMG in the Banshee lineup. 4.6x30. Aaron and I have made videos on the 4.6. Definitely check those out. So just for your comparison, you got the 4.6 here, you got the 223 here. Had a lot of fun shooting this 4.6. I think you should definitely check that out. Got the 9mm carbine from CMMG in the Banshee. Brand new Resolute. Of course, this is only the upper. I got guns in pieces up in here. Actually used the Resolute lower on this can cannon. I had a show the other day. Can cannon, you might say, what the heck is a can cannon? If you don't know, the can cannon is an AR upper that you can put on an existing AR-15 lower, and it shoots 5.56 blanks, which sends compressed air down this tube, and it will launch cans, 12-ounce cans. It will launch tennis balls. Super cool product. I love shooting the can cannon. And lastly is my deer pistol. This is a APF 6.5 Grendel. And here in Minnesota, you can use pistols deer hunting, but you cannot use rifles. So this is my pistol. Suppressed with the Razor Gen 2. Yeah, pretty nice setup. I should get out and shoot a deer one of these days. So real quickly, down here are some of my older models. This is where I start to have a lot of fun because it's not about just buying a shotgun. It's about learning the history. It's about learning when these guns were manufactured and stories behind them. That's what's super cool to me. I mean, those current productions over there, those are neat, love them. But then to pick up a gun like this, I'd never even heard of this gun. It's a Stevens Model 58 20 gauge. Bolt action. With a mag. Look at that. I actually took this out and shot it the other day. It was a ton of fun. Just something about running that bolt action after you shoot. It's got one of those chokes that you twist to select the constriction. Picked up my first Model 12 this year. It's the iconic Winchester Model 12. Very well-known, renowned gun. One of the top sellers of the day. This is a modified barrel. So it's a fixed chokes. Back then, they didn't have the screw-in chokes. The Remington Model 31 was the predecessor to the 870. It was known as the ball bearing repeater. It was machined, but it took a lot of machining steps, over 530 some machining steps, I believe, and made it expensive to make, but it was a really nice gun. So I walked into the local gun shop and I found one, Model 31. So I brought this into my 870 review video. Really smooth action, a lot of fun to shoot. And this also has one of the chokes that you can dial in the constriction. This is an iconic rifle. It's the M1 Garand. I was down in Talladega, Alabama last year. I do not have an M1 Garand. Went home with one that day. This one has a Winchester receiver, which is really cool because Winchester only made the M1 Garands during World War II. So you know this is World War II era M1 Garand. This gun, back to shotguns, is a super cool gun. This is the CVA Scout single shot 410, right? So I got this gun for my son for his first turkey hunt. We went out, we hunted several different days. He was able to bag his first turkey. It was an Eastern here in Minnesota is what we have. And it was so cool. The way it dropped that turkey in its tracks, shooting that Federal TSS turkey round, deadly, even in a 410. I mean, 410, there's not much to it. So not only did my son shoot a turkey, this spring I went down to Florida to hunt Osceolas. So I just took my son's gun. It's a compact, it's like a youth model. Did the trick, 410, took down my first Osceola. This is a Raven crossbow. I had a few different Ravens over the years. This is the R29, so I actually used this in a video to shoot a clay out of the air at night at 100 yards. That was a task. That was really tough. It was really fun. Unfortunately, the lighted knock that we used on the one where I got it didn't light up until like halfway through. Otherwise, it would have looked super cool to see that bolt travel through the air, hit the clay out of the air. Shot a lot of things out of the air with this 22. It is a Marlin Model 56 lever action. And it's got a real short action. I always enjoyed trying to shoot multiple things out of the air. Got several different lever actions. A couple that I want to highlight is this 4570. This thing is a tank. It's a beast. Color cased hardened octagon barrel. Just a tank to shoot. This is a model 1866. It's got a really cool finish, but what I found with this finish is that if you touch it and finger it up and don't wipe it off, it tarnishes really easy. And so I had to work really hard to get the tarnishing off this gun just recently. This is in a 38 special. Check out the loop on this one right here. This is a model 1892 357 Magnum. Large loop carbine. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. Bought it just for the loop. Got a few more guns here, then I got some cool memorabilia that I've collected over the years that I want to share with you. It's a lot of revolvers. Actually, Aaron and I ended up doing revolver trick shots. One of the hardest videos that we've ever made. Trying to do trick shots with these guns. This is a Ruger Vaquero. This is a Ruger Single 6. It was a lot of fun. We traveled out to Wyoming to do it. It was tough. Got a few other semi-auto handguns. Half of my handguns are concealed in different places that are not even the safe room that I'm not gonna tell you about. So keep that in mind. If you do come to my house and you have bad intentions, I have many other guns that are not in the safe room that are ready to put into action and service. This is a fun one. This is the Smith & Wesson 929. It's a 9mm revolver. I think this is the Performance, yes, Performance Setter. It was kind of a Jerry Miculek edition. And big fans of Jerry Miculek, so ended up getting this one. One of my favorites, just little plinking gun, is this Browning Buckmark. Buckmark is just a solid 22 semi-auto pistol. Put a little suppressor on there. You can plink all day. Doesn't kill your ears. Speaking of suppressors, have you seen this one? It's kind of a beast. Screws into your shotgun. It is called the Salvo by Silencer Co. Don't use it a ton. Doesn't do a lot of good unless you're hunting by yourself or all your buddies have it. My buddies don't because they're losers. Just kidding, buddies, you're not. But if you had a Salvo, you'd be cooler. A few other things to show you. Oh yeah, one other revolver I have hidden over here, actually in my custom-made leather holster. It's Uberti Cattleman. Had some trigger work done on this, action work done on this for the Cowboy Quick Draw. I'm not all that good at it, but I like to pretend. That's half the fun. Just pretending that you could be good. I've had to do that a lot of my life. A little bit of ammo selection here. We won't get deep into that. Awesome to have partners like Federal that keep the shelves somewhat full. I luckily had a good supply going into the last couple years, and so that's kept it pretty full. Got the map of Gould Brothers shows. It's a little outdated. I'll get that up to date. Hundreds and hundreds of shows all across the country. This is where I do some of my gun work. Have all sorts of nooks and crannies to keep all the Carlson's choke tubes and manufacturer choke tubes that I don't use because I switch them out for the, oh, another drawer of random choke tubes. Pretty much just full of choke tubes and gun tools. Nice to have this bench in here, but sooner or later I'm gonna have to kick it out because I need more gun space, right? Good problems. Good problems. We'll now pause for a Mountain Ops sponsorship plug. If you head out here, there's just a couple things I want to show you real quick. This is my home office. I don't work here all that often anymore, but got a few of the memorabilia things that I've collected over the years. This is one of the most significant right here. This was signed by Tom Knapp in April of 2009 at the Reed's Gun Fair at Rice Creek. This was the day that I was inspired to become a professional trick shooter, and how cool to have it signed by the guy that inspired you on the day that it happened. Later on, got some signatures from Tim Bradley, who was an amazing trick shooter for many years. Shortly after Tom Knapp passed away, I ended up purchasing this playing card. Tom Knapp actually had a Allen and Ginter Topps playing card. How cool is that? If you come up over here and look, you'll see that I got a picture signed by Jerry Michalik and his wife Kay, and also his daughter Lena. And so this was one of the first times I met the Michalik family. Over the years, got to know them a little bit better, and then eventually Aaron and I collaborated on speed shooting pistol. Then I eventually collaborated on the shotgun video. So we've got to spend some time with Jerry and Lena. You know, one day they're signing stuff for you and you're just Joe Schmo. And down the road, as you keep pursuing that dream and vision and take action on it, you're hanging out with them. Same thing with Tom Knapp. Got to hang out with Tom Knapp as we pushed the vision forward. Super cool memory there. Signed clay by Jerry Michalik. Of course, got to hang out with 22 Plinkster a whole bunch of times. Here's his famous hat that he wears in every video. Did some fun shooting with Dustin Ellerman. There's a little cartridge from one of the shells that we shot. Now, of all the projects we've done, none have been as popular as shotgun trick shots on Dude Perfect, right? So we got invited to come down and film with the Dude Perfect fellas. And this was the first time I ever shot a basketball into a hoop with a shotgun. It was this basketball in that video. I later then got it signed by all the Dude Perfect guys, minus Garrett, because I believe he was having a child, if memory serves me right. Something like that. It was some really poor excuse. Actually, the first time I got to meet the Dude Perfect guys, Aaron and I were at a Bass Pro event, bumped into them. They were also working with Bass Pro. Got their signatures there. When I started shooting clay targets, I had no idea what a blue rock was. It's one of the older clays. If we flip over to this side, actually, we have the Gould Brothers 100,000 subscriber play button. That was a cool thing to receive. I mean, when you think about having a dream or having a vision and starting out from ground zero, starting all the way back to this Mossberg 500, this was simply a passion to go and shoot and hunt. Not to create a business, not to become a professional, simply a passion. This was a desire to get better and bring it next level. And this gun represents having a vision and a dream to become a professional. So going from these first 3 guns, I'm humbled, I'm honored that over the course of pursuing a dream and a vision, God has opened up so many doors, and I've had so many cool opportunities to shoot a lot of different guns, have a lot of fun opportunities, but meet so many great people. That's one of the things that I'm most grateful for, is just the opportunity to meet great people, have great experiences, whether it's Michalik's 22 Plinkster, Tom Knapp, Dude Perfect, the list goes on and on. I could name a lot of people. So I'm so grateful for that. I appreciate you coming along inside and taking a peek at the safe room, getting to enjoy a little bit of the journey that I have been on over the last number of years. It wouldn't be possible without viewers like you and people like you that come out and watch the live shows. So thank you very much for being part of the dream come true. If you haven't done so already, make sure you put it in the comments. What's the one gun in my safe room that if you could have any, you can have any one you want. Which one you taking? Or if there's one gun that you just say, Steve, kind of cool collection, but you missing this one. What is that one? Put it down in the comments down below. And also, I'm gonna throw in there, if you think I should do a trick shot with any of these guns, pick a gun, what should I do a trick shot with? I'd love to pick one up and try something fun. Give me some ideas. One more thing I wanna show you real quick. It's not so much cool as it is really cute, at least right now. It will be cool. This is Cedar, 8 weeks old, Klein Munsterlander pup. She's gonna be a lean, mean hunting machine, aren't you? Aren't you, Cedar? You just woke up from a nap. I think I'll just lay down. Oh yeah. Of course, I already got Jetta over here. She's already lean, mean hunt machine. Yep. All right, see you later.